I said, baby.
Baby.
It's 3 a.m. I must be hungry. Welcome to 3 a.m. Junk Food, where we pillow talk about movies and TV shows and nerd stuff of all ages. I'm Eric. This is my hetero life mate Antonio. And today what we're going to do is a little bit different. We're not going to review a TV show. We're not going to review a movie. What we're going to do is we're going to pick a director, any director, out of a hat. We've already picked that director. What we're going to do today is we are going to pick the 10 best movies of the career of Tim Burton. That's right, Tim Burton, who's brought you such things as sad person in dark clothes, but somehow has big eyes or whatever. I don't know. Tim Burton's movies. He has a very specific aesthetic that seems to have worked for him for the last, 30 years that he's been a pretty popular director. So what do you have to say about Tim Burton, our good friend?
I don't really give a crap about Tim Burton. I had to watch a YouTube video explaining more about this guy, and he always has this very memorable look to him where his hair is jacked up and his facial hair is jacked up, and his face aesthetic. Looks like he doesn't sleep, and maybe he's going through some mental emotional problems or whatever. But there are certain things I like when a director makes a unique style of film, and I think that Tim Burton is really good at that, so I do like that.
He's definitely unique. He has a very specific style, kind of a gothic, almost like gothic cartoonish, I would almost say.
And I watch a video to explain what the heck, because I can't ever wrap my head around how the heck they even describe it. So basically it says something like surrealistic, nightmarish, kind of like sad, lonely, cartoonish, distorted, that kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that's pretty fair. And also I saw Childlike Whimsy, which I kind of get. Oh yeah, also Suburban Americana, and then there's reasons for all these things that I found in the video.
It's like Suburban in the '60s. For some reason, it's obviously his go-to.
Obviously, Edward Scissorhands and other crappies put out.
Speaking of which, all right. So the first thing I want to say is before we get to the top 10. I want to do an honorable mention because the first movie that I want to mention is The Nightmare Before Christmas, because Tim Burton did not direct that. A lot of people seem to think that he did. He did not. Tim Burton did not direct it.
I think it says Tim Burton on the cover, doesn't it?
It does.
Which is confusing, obviously.
He was a producer. I think he wrote a lot of it, and then he worked a lot on the claymation. But Tim Burton did not direct Nightmare Before Christmas. It's probably why it's so beloved. Anyway, moving on. I also want to do a dishonorable mention for our good friend Tim Burton. And those dishonorable mentions I would want to include are every single Disney live-action remake that he has done.
They make money.
I don't care if they make money. They're terrible.
But Dumbo
movies.
didn't.
Dumbo was garbage.
They fired his ass.
Dumbo was garbage. Both Alice in Wonderlands were terrible.
He didn't direct the second one. I didn't know that because they looked the same to me.
Well, it was still bad.
A different guy, but still.
It's still bad.
Still, yeah.
Both Alice in Wonderlands are bad. Stinkers. True stinkers.
Better than Cinderella.
That was just boring.
Doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. Don't get distracted. It was just Cinderella was literally just a shot-for-shot remake.
Without the cartoon. Without the entertaining parts.
Without the good parts. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to number 10, which is the first one in this countdown. And number 10, what we have is Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Now, Pee-wee Herman and Pee-wee's Playhouse was a very popular show in the 80s and early 90s. Paul Reubens was very popular at that point in time with Pee-wee. And so
he got notoriety, though. But
he did. Tim Burton made the movie, and I don't think they fully understood what exactly Tim Burton was going to do with the movie. I bet they thought it was just going to be like the show, where it was just goofy, and he made this whole aesthetic around a story about Pee-wee wanting to get his bike back. If I remember correctly, that was what the movie was about.
It's mostly just like a movie full of skits.
Yeah,
it's just like loosely based on him trying to get his bike. But really, it was just a bunch of little skits. But for me, I was a kid. I loved it to death.
Yeah.
Still not a good movie.
There's two
amateurish.
There's like two specific parts of the movie that I really remember. The first was it's the part with the cowboys. Do you remember it?
I remember the Alamo.
Yeah! And the second part of the movie that I remember was Large Marge when he gets in with the trucker. Yeah, that part was actually genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, because I was a little ass kid
me
for
for
that.
life as a child. Anyway, so that's Pee-wee's Playhouse coming in, or not Pee-wee's Playhouse, I'm sorry, Pee-wee's Big Adventure coming in at number 10. All right, number 9, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I hate most of Tim Burton's remakes of things. But this one, I will say, kind of, certain aspects of it were more in tone with the book, because the book is very dark, and people don't seem to realize that.
Why'd you read the book?
Yeah.
Oh. I might.
Is Johnny Depp anywhere close to as good as Willy Wonka as Gene Wilder was? Absolutely not.
I still liked him.
Gene Wilder is just charming and wonderful.
Obviously, Gene Wilder's amazing. His amazing performance.
Exactly. He didn't give a damn if those kids died. In fact, I'm fairly certain he expected them to die.
So, like, just to separate the two movies and just take Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as its own standalone movie, my only issue is I believe it was the studio that told Danny Elfman, a musical genius, to put a bunch of bullcrap for all the songs, and then he listened, and then it ruined the movie.
Willy Wonka.
They put like weird. Do like an '80s metal song and
so
do
bad.
another version. Yeah, and have all different genres. It'll be great.
One of the best
No, you
things.
ruined it.
One of the best things about the original Willy Wonka movie is the music, and it's all so well crafted, and it's just fun, and there's got this sense of wonder and whimsy that he tried to capture, and he just didn't. That being said, it's still better than most of his other movies, so it's number 10 on our list.
9?
That was number 9. I'm sorry. Number 9. I had a few of these. Number 8. 8. Coming at you at number 8 is one of my personal favorite Tim Burton movies, is Mars Attacks. Now, this movie is fucking wild. It is a 50s B sci-fi movie set in the 90s.
It's like a word slaughter slash film.
It wasn't a slasher film. It was just
watch all your celebrities die.
Yeah, they all just died.
Yeah.
It was wild, man. It was like, and it had this incredible cast. It was like Pierce Brosnan, Scarlett
got tricked into
Johansson,
it.
Jack Black,
Yeah, it's all those amazing actors.
fucking
that
Jack
aren't-
Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was in this movie. He played the president.
It was great.
This
The whole movie
movie,
was so entertaining.
they can't understand why the Martians are just murdering everyone.
For me, it was the noise they made.
And
There's
they
a couple different parts where they seem like they're friendly.
And then all of a sudden
No,
it's
they're
like
gonna kill you.
it's like War of the Worlds, but instead of like some random disease, it's like
What was the song?
really bad Pat Boone
It was a
music
song.
from like
It was
the
a certain
20s.
song, and their heads exploded.
Yeah, and
It was cheap and hilarious. The whole movie's amazing.
It's surreal, goofy.
It's not a good movie.
It's just silliness.
Entertaining.
It's
Super
just
entertaining.
silliness.
So much fun.
It's like
For you younger folks, watch
it's like-
Mars Attacks. It's old.
It's
but
like 50s
watch
aliens
it anyway.
in a modern setting where we're used to like
Yeah, it's
aliens.
a 50s.
This came out after
It's
like
a 50s movie.
This came out after E.T. and
Mixed
all
with like
these
a
other
B movie from like the 80s, but with like large scale actors.
Exactly. It's like a 50s sci-fi movie, but like after all of these other movies where aliens were like kind and nice, and they like, this was just a throwback in a completely silly, stupid way, and I absolutely loved it. But there are
Probably
other
no one
ones.
knows that he directed this movie because it's
Probably
so
not.
out of
It
left
didn't have
field.
Johnny Depp in it. That's probably why the reason why
It didn't have
people
that
know.
weird cartoony nightmare tone to it, like
Yeah.
all of his movies.
Anyway, that's number 8.
8.
8.
Yeah.
8. Number 7. Number 7 is our first claymation entry, stop motion entry, on the Tim Burton list, and it is The Corpse's Bride.
Stop motion and
Um,
I haven't watched it.
That's fair. I saw this, actually, it was at a throwback theater on a Halloween night. I went with a friend. I hadn't seen it. I ended up enjoying it a hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to. It's such a simple story. Guy,
Doesn't that dude murder his wife?
No, he's supposed to marry this girl, and she ends up I think he's supposed to marry a girl, he's the love of his life, and she dies. And then he tries to move on with his life, so he throws the like wedding ring away. Like he tosses it, and it like lands in her grave, and she like comes back to life because she can't let go. And she comes back, and they go through this whole thing, and like she's not supposed to be alive, and she takes him down into like the underworld, and there's all this craziness.
Well, I watched a little bit of it because I was watching this whole thing about Tim Burton, and it said that there was like a musical about them murdering her, like before, like a past thing.
It was like a montage, musical montage.
A musical montage of murder.
That's the most Tim Burton thing I think I've ever heard.
He's a sad guy.
He is, but honestly, it's not a bad film. It's pretty by the numbers, but it's good. If you like Tim Burton's aesthetic, you're gonna like this movie.
I like his aesthetic.
Plus, there's a dog skeleton that's like cute, and I liked that.
Reminds me of Frankenweenie. Is that on there?
No.
Oh, fuck it. Fuck
All right.
Frankenweenie.
Fuck Frankenweenie. Fuck that movie.
It's a remake of a 30-minute TV show or 30-minute movie he made in the 80s. 84. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody cares about Frankenweenie.
Second honorable mention, Frankenweenie, I guess. The next film, number 6. We're on 6 now. We're moving right along. Yeah, 6. Is a movie that he made based on Washington Irving's story, Sleepy Hollow. He took the effeminate school teacher, Ichabod Crane, and turned him into a forensic scientist in the 1800s.
I've seen this. I don't remember shit about this movie.
Yeah, it's a headless horseman. And it's brutal as fuck, and there's just a lot of murder. Tim Burton has the ability to get very brutal and very gory when he feels like it.
Remember the aesthetic of the movie was really good. I thought it was very.
This was a good movie.
Gorgeous
I actually
movie.
enjoyed this movie for some of the action set pieces are actually really well done. Anytime that the headless horseman is actually very intimidating in this movie. Every time he like murders somebody, like there are times where he cuts people in half, cuts their heads off. I mean, obviously he's gonna cut people's heads off. That's the whole point of the movie. That's the whole point of the story.
I think I never watched the cartoon.
The Disney cartoon?
Yeah, the Disney cartoon was dope. But I'm pretty sure it was really short, wasn't it?
It was a short. It was like he had the flaming.
I think there was like lightning.
It.
There's like lightning, like when he was like holding up the thing, you know.
Exactly. So this one's about like a Hessian soldier. Like it's got a whole storyline behind it, where they have to like return his head to his body so that he can rest. But yeah, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. Very violent. It's definitely got all of the things that you might like from something like that. It's got a mystery. The aesthetic's interesting. It's kind of dreary.
I don't think it feels like a Tim Burton movie, really. Do you think so?
Compared
to his other ones, you know?
He has a couple of different styles, but it doesn't compare because it feels like it almost feels like an action movie.
Yeah.
At times. So it does feel a little bit different than most of his stuff. But it's still good. I enjoyed it a lot, and that's why it's on this list. All right. So number 5. We're in the top 5 now. We're almost in the end game.
Hello, number 5.
Mambo number 5. Bam, 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 da-da, bam, 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 ba-da. That's all we're going to do on that. So number 5 is Batman Returns. Not the 1989 classic, but the sequel, which was not nearly as good. All right,
I love Batman Returns.
No, okay. I know I put this really high because it is genuinely one of the better films that Tim Burton has made. But I got a bone to pick with this fucking movie because Tim Burton was clearly given way too much artistic freedom with this movie because he turned the Penguin, who, yes, he is short, he has a long nose, he likes birds, but he wears like a tux. That's his thing. He's just a gangster who is very short and portly, and he cast Danny DeVito, who would have been perfect for the role of the Penguin, had he not turned him into a damn circus freak. He made him this weird, pale, like his blood was black for some fucking reason.
To be fair, if you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, he still plays a circus freak.
But he looks like a normal person.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a penguin.
Right.
He had the weird flippers.
I didn't have any emotional attachment to the penguin
it was so
character.
Stupid.
So I was cool with it.
He turned Catwoman.
He bled like black.
Yeah.
At the end, he's a monster.
He's a monster for some reason.
But all he was just a baby, right? That went in the sewer.
In the comics, he's just a guy from an affluent family who got into the mob. That's pretty much it.
Everyone has a difficult time adapting these poor Batman comics because they don't know what to do with them. Make them weird, or make them dark, or make them, I don't know.
Maybe read a comic. One.
Maybe read a comic.
Just one.
There's all different kinds.
He made Catwoman.
There's so many Batman comics to choose from.
Catwoman. That's another good example.
She dies multiple times.
He turned Penguin into a circus freak monster. He turned Catwoman into some weird magical...
She has 9 lives.
She literally has 9 lives. She gets killed 8 times in the movie.
She kills herself sometimes because she knows she's going to come back to life.
She's got some weird BDSM fetish.
And because of the allure of Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, they pretty much spawned that Catwoman movie off of her character.
Yeah.
And then people watch it and they're like, wait, why did she come back to life from cats? Because of Batman Returns.
She's just a cat burglar. That's it. She's a burglar. She has little cat ears.
That's
it.
Yeah, I don't really know, honestly. But
she has a pet cat and she burgles. Yeah. That's it. That's the whole fucking character.
Also, I'm pretty sure I'm sure she actually bangs Bruce Wayne once in a while.
Many times.
Okay, I've seen that one.
Many times in the comics.
There's a movie she bangs Nightwing.
She has this on again, off again relationship. But yeah, Batman Returns. Oh, and he turned Batman into a straight up murderer in this movie.
Yes, he does. He throws a clown into a hole or something. He blows up. He obviously died, and there's more than that.
Multiple times where he just straight up murders people.
Well, sure, in the first Batman, we're not there yet, but he pushes someone down like a giant thing on top of a tower. Yeah. So he obviously died. But it was a lot more it was more subtle, even though it was still obvious.
Tim Burton didn't give a damn.
I don't think, he didn't really give a damn about the whole no killing
rule. There was clearly no... Tim Burton has gone on record as saying he has never read a Batman comic. And it is very clear. Anyway,
it doesn't matter.
Anyway, since we're talking about it now...
I love Batman Returns.
So that was number 5. We're now on to number 4, which, since we're on the topic, number 4, 1989, Batman.
Starring Prince. I'm sorry, Prince's music.
Prince did the music. 2 things. And while I have gripes, and they're basically the same gripes I had about Batman Returns, just to a lesser extent. My biggest thing that I will say that's good about this movie is they took the 60s campy Adam West Batman and he changed Batman's aesthetic to be darker. It was gothic. It was dark Art Deco. And it had Danny Elfman's incredible Batman score.
I don't know who made the Batmobile, because it's
amazing. It's iconic.
It's so well created.
I feel like almost every Batmobile after that has kind of been a sort of a...
They don't get it.
It's been like a interpretation on that Batmobile. Because it's iconic. Yeah. Everything Batman movies are recently, in any time after 1989, has kind of liberally taken from 1989's Batman movie. The Batsuit is iconic. The silhouette. Jack Nicholson's Joker is amazing. They actually do get the Joker's origin right, where he falls into the vat of acid and becomes the Joker. I
love how freaking terrifying Joker is.
I've watched that movie so many times in my life. I love it.
I watched it as a kid.
Didn't like Batman Returns. Yeah. Absolutely adore the Batman 89.
So I watched Batman when I was a kid, and I liked it like Batman Returns, and then I left him alone, and I came back to Batman as like a 20-something-year-old, and I was blown away by... it does a very good job of, it keeps a very serious tone. It's so well acted by Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. They stand out in the movie as they're just both killing it. And it's kind of like frustrating because it kind of shows like that's what you need in a really good, compelling comic book movie. Is just have your main characters be really good actors. It's going to cost more.
That does it.
But
much.
it really makes a really good movie, and it did well. What was sadly, Batman was just used as a vehicle to sell toys. When Batman Returns came out, they decided that it wasn't going to sell enough toys because now kids weren't going to see it. It was too dark. It was too mature.
Yeah.
So they brought in more directors, and then Batman went downhill.
Well, they brought in Joel Schumacher, and well, that's going to be another video someday down the road. But dear God, he ruined everything.
I like certain things about the next two Batman movies, but yeah, it just went completely off the rails, and they lost sight of how to make a good Batman movie because they were so focused on the toys.
And the last good thing about it is it led directly into the Batman animated series, which is incredible,
amazing, one of my favorite cartoons of all time, perfect. By far.
Anyway, so that's our number 4, Batman. Moving on, we're in the top 3 now, guys. Top 3. All right, moving on to number 3. We have Edward Scissorhands. To me, this is the quintessential Tim Burton. Like everything you can think of, all of Tim Burton's little tropes that he likes to do. The weirdly colored suburban Americana setting.
Overly saturated.
Yeah. While also having these this inverse, super dark, gothic, shadowy.
Did you remember pale, the hill with all that dark stuff on the hill on the mansion and everything is seen from suburbia?
Yeah. It's so wild.
Such a good creative choice.
Yeah. Because he's like a created human. He's not done yet, so he gave him these weird knife hands for some reason.
And you probably know who's the actor that played the guy that created Edward Scissorhands, because he's obviously famous. I don't remember his name, but he kills it in that role. It makes you more emotionally invested.
I don't remember, unfortunately.
That's fine, but the scenes between those two, Johnny Depp kills this role. I mean, obviously Johnny Depp gets a lot of shit for various things.
Johnny Depp,
he was amazing in this, I think.
You got to remember, Johnny Depp, when this movie came out, was this teen heartthrob. He'd been in
Cry Baby, probably.
Cry Baby. He'd done Friday the 13th. Not Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's all the same to me.
He did Nightmare on Elm Street. And then he was in 21 Jump Street. And so he was just this heartthrob young dude. And then he did this movie where he was completely out of the blue, where it was just this very sad origin, but he found his own path in the world. But then, of course,
really good mix of things.
He was obviously outcast from the main part of society, and when they started when the jock people or the more accepted people started to see him start to get accepted, it frustrated them and upset them. So it had a very, very basic premise, but a basic premise that I think anybody can understand. Anybody who has ever felt like an outcast could probably see themselves at least a little bit in Edward Scissorhands.
So I was watching this video to get ready for this video by an awesome YouTube channel called The Take, and they eloquently broke down why Tim Burton is the way he is and why he makes movies the way he does. And I want to hit it on this movie specifically because basically the reason he is the way he is because he grew up in a very stereotypical Americana suburban town, but he had a cemetery right down the street, which is interesting because he was asked about that, and he said, yes, the cemetery was, I feel, a great place to think, which kind of implies that he would just go down to the cemetery to ponder, to just hang out, which I think is disturbing, but hey, I guess it makes sense because his movies have a very disturbing kind of feel mixed with a very a comfortable kind of feel, and that's what the whole suburbia too. I thought it was weird. Apparently, it was normal.
I had sex in a cemetery once.
What? Okay, good. Have you had sex in a cemetery?
Leave a like in the comments.
Like in the comments.
Yeah. Whatever.
Leave a like in the comments. But yeah, he was also a very lonely kid. And that's what also made him make characters that are very, very lonely. And they have that environment just like him that's very dark, but also just like oversaturated with like, you know, overly normal people, but like, you know, thinking in this headspace of being very dark and thinking about, you know, nightmarish type things and this whole thing. And that's
So it kind of explains how the kind of
the mix in his movies of like the childlike whimsy, and people have I guess been accusing him of like being stuck in his childhood or he needs to just get over his childhood, and he said basically that no like he appreciates the that he's able to tap into like a dreamlike or nightmarish either or aesthetic in his movies, because now we're able to like, you know, leave reality and go into this dream world, which is a little bit distorted, but oftentimes way more beautiful and touching, and that's what we get from the certain aesthetics of Tim Burton.
And that's definitely Edward Scissorhands is the best way I would put it. It's touching and kind of beautiful in a way.
It's so emotionally gripping.
Yeah.
Especially like just little things like he gets his hands and his scissor hands like cut the hands, which, you know, if you just hear that without watching the movie, you're like, sounds, what the heck are you talking about?
He can't hold anyone's hand. He can't touch
amazing.
anyone, and it's like
he's just talking about himself.
Yeah.
Tim Burton as a kid, that's what it felt like. It was just a loner. He couldn't touch people, and he just felt like an outcast, and that was what it was like to feel him. To
it's
be like
definitely
him.
that's definitely feels like Tim Burton's like passion, self-injected project, and that's what makes it number 3, because it is probably the most iconic Tim Burton movie.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now moving on to number 2. Number 2, or flipping you off in England. 2.
Keep flipping you off. Sorry.
All right.
I'm not sorry. Anyway.
Number 2 is Big Fish. This may not feel like the most quintessential Tim Burton movie. Like, this is definitely not the Tim Burton movie when you think of Tim Burton that you see it.
I didn't know he directed this until recently.
Exactly. But it is, without a doubt, the most well-received critically Tim Burton film. Big Fish is about a kid who remembers all the stories that his honestly deadbeat dad kind of tells him. His dad's never really there. He's never really around. He comes into town every once in a while before he leaves again to go try and make money one way or another. But he tells his son all these fantastical, outlandish stories of all the things that he does when he's not home. And it's Tim Burton truly seemed to adore the source material of the original book, and he took so much time and effort to craft the stories that his dad's telling him, and he makes them into reality. And it's genuinely, I would say, I've read before that this was originally going to be Tim Burton's final film.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. This was like 04, 05, something like that. 06
Yeah.
maybe. But it was in like the mid-aughts. But you could definitely tell how much he respected the source material and how much he truly liked it, because I would say this is probably his best film from a filmmaker critical aspect. I think
Making
it
sure
actually,
all the pieces fit.
yeah, I think it
all
actually
the-
got nominated for Best Picture.
I don't know.
But this is
Ewan McGregor was in it, so
From
I
a-
believe it because he's amazing.
from a filmmaker's standpoint, from a scientific film mind standpoint, this is probably his best film. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend going and watching it. It's not going to be your typical Tim Burton aesthetic, gothic whimsy or whatever, but it's just a really well-made movie.
I still don't know if I feel like the meaning behind the film is don't worry so much like if a story is real or how close to real it is or how embellished it is, but try to connect with the person telling the story.
Exactly.
And you really get that from this. The characters in the movie, if they're embellished, you don't even care because you get so attached to all the people that he meets, whether they're too tall or I don't even remember all the things.
Yeah, I don't
makes them
remember all the
special.
things, but it's a really good story.
Oh, okay. Remember that scene? I know it's been done before multiple times. So Ewan McGregor sees something and time stops. I think there's popcorn in the air, and he moves the popcorn out of the air to walk through it.
Yeah.
But that's something memorable to me, and it's just little stuff like that.
Yeah.
Little filmmaking tricks that can really make parts of the movie stand out for me.
But yeah, number 2. Number 1. We move on now. Number 1. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Flip it up again. There you go. Okay,
number
back to
1. Number
the
1.
finger.
Probably the most popular movie that Tim Burton ever made. It was made in the 80s, starring Michael Keaton. Number 1 is Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Go watch Beetlejuice right now.
Beetlejuice.
Oh shit.
Well, I guess it's not real. Anyway.
He's probably outside. He's being polite.
Story of, ghosts and this fucking nightmare specter creature that's just this total douchebag. Like, it is so
lovable asshole.
One
of the more lovable jerks in cinema.
Okay, you call him that, but originally it's very clear that he's trying to be released from what he has wrong with him. He's got a curse because he's not a good guy, and he's clearly been evil from the beginning, but he's trying to win over this young woman and these 2 brand new ghosts who are haunting this house that's bought by these really weird people. And they're trying to win over this young girl who's obsessed with the macabre, obsessed with gothic things, played by Winona Ryder, because of course she is.
I haven't seen this movie in like 20 years, and I still love it. This movie is so memorable.
Michael Keaton is...
Oh, the visuals are amazing.
The visuals are great.
They really stick with me.
The way they did the set to look like a model of a town was fun.
I like how the 2 ghosts, they're just obviously super normal looking. It's that dang Tim Burton thing of,
they're just totally normal.
Super normal looking.
The ghosts are super normal. This super normal family, and the family that buys the house are these weird I don't even know how to describe what these people are.
So I guess if you were to try to picture New Yorkers that are way too into art in the art scene.
If a person from Kansas imagined people from New York in the 80s, these are what
they're
would
just
see.
Doing coke and quaaludes and looking at art. These are the people.
And singing weird songs when they're being
man,
possessed.
that scene when the chairs are grabbing them and they're bringing the hat. Oh, there's so many amazing, iconic scenes in this movie. Amazing.
It all boils down to how phenomenal Michael Keaton is. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice is just awesome.
But even without Michael Keaton, the movie is still amazing.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like everyone does a good job.
From an aesthetic standpoint, from a filmmaking standpoint, it's well made. It's got the claymation in it that actually works with the sandworms
that's something
and the
else,
weird Beetlejuice
That's
parts.
something else I learned. The reason Tim Burton has been so production studios like him because they hire him and he's making cheap bullcrap movies and short films.
He's under budget.
He's super under budget. So he's famous for making movies that make 3 times what the budget is. So I think that's what happened with the Disney movies. They're like, oh crap, I mean, we don't like these movies because they're weird, but they make us money, so I don't give a crap. Whatever works.
So Tim Burton stands.
But then he made Dumbo, and then he fucked it up, and now Tim Burton got fired.
It was like Dumbo. Dumbo was
just don't even do Dumbo. Why would you even
let me go
choose that?
dust off my tall hat.
I couldn't even. I got 20 minutes in. I was like, this movie's trash.
As soon as I saw an elephant in nightmarish clown
you got
makeup.
farther than me. I saw a clip of that, but I didn't even get to that part because I was so thrown off. Fuck that movie.
All being said, I would say that's his most popular and his best movie. It's
so
hilarious.
Many good reasons.
It's fun.
The visuals, the acting, the art style.
Once
the writing is okay.
Once he actually gets released, you see how terrifying Beetlejuice truly is and what he's capable of. But yeah, that's number 1. So, that is the top 10 movies of Tim Burton's career, in our opinion. If you have any movies that you feel like we missed and you have a reason why you think we missed them, please comment below and tell us what we missed, why it's one of his best movies. We'll read it and maybe we'll watch it. Maybe we haven't seen it. Anyway, if you like what we have to say, subscribe, hit the like, and like I just said, leave a comment. But anyway, as always, cheers and keep enjoying good movies. So long.